issue. So yes, tell us where things are at now, what it's like now that it's
Right.
a year in, and what we stopped working together 4 months ago-ish.
About that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So George, I was saying, has a lot of energy. He's a golden retriever puppy. They tend to be puppies, as you know, for the first few years. Um, Life is great because I have so much more confidence. My husband and I are on the same page because we did the program together. It looks like and your Wi-Fi network isn't connected to the internet. Alexa, take a look at the help setting. Sorry, Rowan.
It's okay.
Um, so life is good. I feel like if George, he's going to do things because he's still a puppy. But now when he does something, I don't panic. Don't laugh when I say this, but I usually step back and go, what would Rowan do? You know what I mean? If it's not like a simple fix, I go, what would Rowan do right now? Or did Rowan cover this? Do I have this in my notes somewhere? Um, Rarely do I get upset, anxious, nervous, mad because I feel like I have so much knowledge now. I figure out why he's doing what he's doing. He's bored, or he's been in the house too long, or he's overtired and he might need a nap or just a break. So I feel armed with knowledge. I think knowing that you're there. I mean, I think I emailed you one time with a question that I couldn't find the answer to. um, just knowing that you're there for backup really gives me a sense of confidence. But just all the knowledge I got from you, and that's what makes the difference now.
Awesome. That's so cool. It's funny because I have mentors that I do the same thing. How would Lori respond to this? Or yeah, what would Nicole say? So
Right.
it's
Because
crazy.
before this program, I would go, why is he doing this? What I would get anxious or angry. Why is he doing this? Is this my fault? Did I not do something? Or how do I stop this? How do I fix this? Is it going to go on forever? It's like I would spiral into these anxiety sort of pathways. And now I go, I just need to figure it out. What is he trying to tell me?
Cool. I love that. Yes, I want everybody to be calmer and less stressed. Um, and tell me about your dog history. So yeah, this was not your first puppy. So a lot of people find me because they have absolutely no clue. You have a little bit of a different story though.
We do. We've had golden retrievers for almost 20 years. We've had trainers that we've worked with. I like your approach the best. Your personality was the best fit for us literally in 20 years. And we've been through at least 5 trainers in over the years. Some love to talk, some, and when I say talk, they like to hear themselves talk. Some felt like, they constantly need to remind you how much knowledge they have and why they're so good at what they do. Your approach is so calm. That's what when I talk about you, I go, Rowan has the most calming presence. There's there's no stress. She's not condescending in any way. She's not constantly trying to prove how much she knows. You have the calmest confidence. And that is exactly what I needed in a trainer, like in a mentor. And the amount of knowledge you have at your age is so impressive. I mean, I can tell that you have studied dogs for years and years and years. And I feel like you're not about, your training program isn't just about giving a command and getting a response. It's about the relationship between the owner and the puppy. It's about understanding what that puppy is trying to communicate. And instead of trying to fix a problem, it's working on your relationship. It's either your communication, or it's getting the puppy to understand, or it's understanding why they're doing something. So it's much more about, instead of control, it's about relationship and understanding.
Awesome. I love that. gonna make me blush and cry and do all of
Oh,
sweet
well, I
things.
mean, honestly, when we look at George and we just gush over how adorable he is, first of all, but then what a good boy he is, we always give you the benefit because you trained us and we in turn trained him.
Yeah. We also, so I got to spend more time with George than most. So yeah, most of the people in this program, I don't actually get to snuggle their puppy at all, which is so stupid of me. Why did I do this? But yeah, you live in Columbus, and really shortly after you enrolled, you had to go away for a funeral, right? You had a death in the
Yeah,
family.
we had a family emergency right
Yeah,
away.
and you're like, oh my gosh, I have like a 9 week old puppy. And I was like, just drop him off. And that became the best love story for me. I am obsessed with George. I think maybe I want a golden retriever. I want you to, I know you've got a lot of kids, but I'm like, I don't care, cut them out. I want him will to me if anything happens.
So
Because he
funny.
is the best. Um, so yeah, I got to spend a lot of time with this boy. And yeah, when you say like he's got crazy energy, I'm like, okay, I guess so, but he's super good. So yeah, I can tell that you have done the training. Like feel like most yes, he spent a lot of time with me, but I wasn't doing much with him. I was snuggling with him the whole time because he loves being on my couch. But
You
yeah,
know,
you
Rowan, that's it's funny that you say that about the couch because I remember somewhere in my past, I either, did my own research or a trainer told me, dogs have a place in the family hierarchy, right? They are not the leaders, and you cannot let them be in a position of power, right? Where they can sort of challenge you as the pack leader. And somewhere along the line, someone made me think that dogs being on furniture is bad. It's bad. Things were always black and white. It was right or wrong. A behavior was right or it was wrong. Your training was right or wrong. And so the difference with you is you have a more laid back approach that's based on knowledge, but also common sense. And I remember talking to you, I got a picture or a video from you, and George was on your couch. And I was like, Rowan, you're letting not only your own dogs, but my puppy on your couch. Like you're giving him a position of power. And you were like, he loves to snuggle. Like I let my dogs on my couch in my house. That's how I do it. You don't have to. And it wasn't this right or wrong. It was, this is what works for my family, do what works for your family. So now every night, George is on the couch with my permission, laying on top of me. And I think of you so often because that is such an enjoyable moment for us. It's not giving him any extra power. He's not challenging, his hierarchy in the family. But, those were the little things that I learned from you that it's not always right and wrong and black and white. It's what works for you and your family. What's your expectation? And you can have some leeway. Things don't always have to be, so tightly controlled.
yeah, that is not me, not how I live. Yeah, I love the pictures you send me snuggling George. Because yeah, I mean, I sent you pictures of him like on my husband's head, and I've got really cute photos of us napping together.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
You can't not do this. You've got a golden retriever for God's sake. It's not
He
like you've
is
got a dog who's too big for the couch, or yeah,
right.
not a snuggler. Cool.
I think
S-
George is also well behaved when he is with you because of your calm, assertive presence. You're not anxious in any way. And I do think they can feed off of that. So I think that's why he's always been so well behaved for you because you're so calm.
yeah, and I let my dogs beat up on him. I'm sure your husband probably told you a couple stories of dropping off, and he's just like, "Whoa, our dog's just gonna wail
No,
on."
we loved it. And but also he learned, I think he learned how to play respectfully because we had other dogs and he was with your dogs. But, you know, he seems like a well-balanced boy because he's been exposed to some different things.
Absolutely. Socialization, so important. We go through that a lot in the program. And then, yeah,
Yep.
you got the added bonus that he got to be socialized with my pups. But
Yes.
no matter who it is, yeah, finding somebody for him to play with is always helpful.
Right.
So what was your mindset like when you got this puppy? Because yeah, this was like golden retriever number 9. So
Yeah.
what
I would
was
say anxiety, anxiety, how do we do things? The thing I kept saying to my husband was, how do we do it right with this one? Our other dogs, because of their breed and their disposition, they've been great. Are they perfect? No. How do we, so my mindset was I was anxious. I wanted to have a well-behaved dog. I also wanted to have a good relationship with him. I didn't want to resent him when he didn't do things perfectly. I wanted I wanted to work with a trainer because I wanted sort of to refresh my knowledge. I never think that I know everything. I just wanted somebody to just start from the beginning with us and give us, a guiding path. And what I liked so much about you, you sort of advertised on my neighborhood Facebook page. And the things that you would say were like, do you want to have a good relationship with your puppy? Do you want to have a stress-free potty training experience? And I thought, okay, that doesn't exist. I was like, she's crazy. Um, but just, it was like you were tapping into my fears, how to have a good relationship, how to not resent your puppy, how to have a a positive experience raising your puppy, especially for the first few months. And so I thought, I'm going to give this girl a try. She's going to have to show me that this is possible because I was a little skeptical that it was possible. And we've had the best experience. And I use the knowledge I learned in Puppy to Perfect on my older dogs because I just come from that mindset of what are they trying to tell me with whatever behavior they're doing. It's just a lot less anxiety.
awesome. Yeah, and I love that about knowledge. So yeah, I'm not holding anything back. It's not like anything secret happens behind the scenes. Yeah, I'm not taking your dog and doing things and returning them. So yeah,
Nope.
this is yeah, now you don't need me anymore. Yeah, I want you to be like, I got this. Yeah, I know what I need to know now. I can do it. You can
Yeah.
get 15 more dogs and train them all perfectly.
And having 5 or 6 dogs, I probably learned the most from you as a trainer than I did with any other trainer. And I think it's because of your personality and your approach. You have so much knowledge, but you deliver it in a concise way that's understandable, I can implement it. If I have a question, you were always available with a succinct answer right away. So I I I wish I had had all of the knowledge I have now going back to my other dogs. But, we'll look forward and, progress forward with other dogs that we get.
Yeah, I know we all feel that way. You got the first dog, you're like, oh, I'm sorry, buddy. I was dumb back then. I didn't do things right. But yeah, we're all doing the best we can. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel that too, 100%. Um, I'm curious, was there anything in the program that surprised you? So you just mentioned that there are different things you learned a lot. So yeah, what were some of your maybe
I
favorite?
think I think I didn't expect to learn as much as I did. I didn't expect I expected there to be that right and wrong. This is how you do it. This is the result you'll get. Your approach is more knowledge based. It's You explain why dogs do certain things. I don't think I ever anticipated being able to, um, I don't think I ever expected being able to anticipate what George was going to do before he did it
Mm.
because you taught me signs to look for. You taught me body language. And I can tell now the difference between him approaching another dog in an aggressive way and him being playful. And that is huge because that affects my anxiety when he's meeting another dog. I can read his body language. little thing. Okay, I never expected this. When George would get crazy in the afternoon, he would just get crazy. He would start like biting me, you know, maybe going after a piece of furniture. I I learned he was probably overtired. I didn't know dogs could be like babies and he needed a break. He needed to go in his crate and have a nap. So simple, common sense things like that, I did not expect to learn.
Well, yeah, I have a vivid memory of, again, you went on vacation, so I had George for a little while. And yeah, at an hour, like we'd be awake and playful, it'd be great. In an hour and 15, he turned demonic. He was a little
Yes.
jerk. I'm like, I want to hit this dog right now.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I put him in the crate and he might like whine and complain for a few seconds. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, honey, go to bed. You are
Yeah.
being awful.
Right.
So an hour and 15 was the magic number at that age.
Right. The other thing, I never put my dogs on a schedule. I remember early into Puppy to Perfect, you talked about a schedule, and it was so much like having a real baby. You wake up, you have potty, you have playtime, you maybe eat, you go potty again, and then you take a nap. And that was life changing because I never knew before when to put my dog, into his crate to give him a break. I thought it was only when I left the house. And that schedule was a lifesaver. I never thought about that with a puppy before. And it was, again, it feels kind of common sense when you explain it, but I never knew that. And it was a game changer.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that yeah, you weren't totally sure if this was going to work, so you're like, she's going to have to prove that she can do it. So at what point were you like, yep, this is good?
Probably that example I just gave you with this schedule, that was life changing. And that's when I was like, okay, I think she might know what she's talking about. Because when I first saw the schedule, I was like, that sounds like, the old baby wise that we did when we were raising our babies, in the early 90s. Um, so I think that was when I was like, I think she might know what she's talking about. Like, this is really helpful. And just all the knowledge you had. I mean, I think there was even one time when you were like, this isn't necessarily, we were in the Puppy to Perfect program, but George was staying with you. And you said to me, Laura, I'm not super impressed with the food that George is eating. I can just tell looking at the kibble by the odor, it's just not a high quality food. And I thought, how can you tell from the way the food smells that it's not a high quality food? It was like another example of the knowledge that you have. And I think that was just another time when I was like, not only is Rowan so knowledgeable, she actually really cares about my puppy. Like you cared about George Minnick, not just he wasn't just another client. I mean, that's another thing that really set you apart to me is you really, really cared about him.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I want to borrow him again. Actually, you didn't leave. A toy hid under my couch that I have of yours. So next time I'm in the area, I'm going to drop it off. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I am obsessed with nutrition. You know that.
Yeah.
And that schedule, that's week one. So yeah, it sounds like pretty quickly you were like, okay.
Yeah.
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 Um, all right. What else do I want people here? So yeah, the point of this for anybody watching is to help you see what it's like, what's possible for you, the transformations, what the support is like, see if we'd be a good fit for each other. Um, so I guess maybe we'll wrap up with what would you say to someone who is considering working with me?
I would say if you are considering a trainer, you obviously are invested in your dog, in your puppy. You're invested in hopefully not only your puppy learning commands and respecting those commands, but you're invested in your relationship with your puppy. And what I loved about Puppy to Perfect and Rowan is She teaches you so much about what is going on inside your puppy's brain, how they're growing, how they're evolving. She explains how, why they do things the way they do. She explains how to anticipate things before they even happen. The biggest thing for me is your delivery, Rowan. You are a calm, confident, knowledgeable, supportive, positive trainer. And I don't think I've ever experienced that from a dog trainer. You're easy to get along with, you're easy to understand, and there's no ego. And I tend to be a I have a more high anxiety personality. So I need a calming, reassuring person to say, you're doing great and your puppy's doing great. I mean, there were times where I thought George was horrible and you were like, he's wonderful. And just hearing you say that gave me the reassurance that, we were doing a good job. It was working and he's actually a really good boy. So I think in a nutshell, um, investing in a program like Puppy to Perfect, it's not just for that puppy stage. The knowledge and the tools that you provide are going to serve your clients for the rest of that dog's life, which is going to be over a decade. At a certain point, that investment becomes priceless.
Absolutely. You're so sweet.
Oh, Rowan, I don't know what we would do without you, honestly. I mean, we miss you. I think about you all the time. Every time he's laying on top of me, like licking my neck, I think
Yeah.
I go, oh, Rowan would love this.
Yeah, every client of mine that basically any dog, yeah, especially golden retriever, like I always think, oh, George. Because yeah, I worked with Moses yesterday and he's a big goofball. He's like more red golden and he's
Yeah,
wonderful, but I'm like, I miss George. I love
I
them both.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, Debbie's a new English cream that I'm working with, and I'm like, yep,
Ugh.
he's stinking awesome also.
Do you see a difference in the English cream personality versus I do too. I mean, I
Mhm.
love George, but I do love that English cream. Our Charlie, our older one, is English cream, and he's just a love bug. He's not as much as a goofball though. He doesn't have that silly side. He's just a really calm, good boy. So it's
Yeah,
fun to have the two different personalities.
George is definitely a doofers. His mental voice would just be like, doo, doo, doo.
Yeah, very
I'm
much.
I do all the things. So I am curious because you've had dogs in the past and you work with other trainers.
Mhm.
Um, so what did you think about um, this being a virtual program? So I got to babysit George, but we weren't doing training exercises
Right.
together at all. So yeah, I'm curious if you can speak to that because
Sure.
I don't know what other types of training you've done, if you've done a board and train or group classes or what.
No, I did group classes 20 years ago, which I did not love because I felt like my dog was reacting to all the other dogs and I kind of wasn't getting the one-on-one that I wanted.
Mhm.
Um, then we did all in person in the past. So I was a little skeptical, like, how is this online thing? I think I even emailed you and said, if this doesn't work, can I meet with you in person? I wasn't sure how it was going to work. For our busy schedule, we had 3 kids in high school, all the crazy sports and appointments that they had. So this virtual program was so helpful that for us so that we could kind of work through all the information on our schedule. Obviously we had our, Zoom meetings with you, but I loved being able to work through it on my own. I could rewatch videos. Usually for me, it takes more than one to absorb all the information. I was able to go back and reference things if I had a question. I loved the platform, and I would write down my questions, throughout the week, and I'd have a list for you when we had our meeting. Or I could, email you separately, but I loved it. I loved the platform. I didn't feel like I needed the in-person one-on-one because of all the knowledge you gave me. So I kind of feel like I didn't need that in person. I call it like babysitting. The other thing I will say about it, Rowan, it gave me a lot more confidence because in person training, the trainer's doing a lot of the work and I'm standing there watching. This, I had to do the work. So it gave me the confidence because I was doing it. And that was a big difference. And I really, really liked that. And I needed that.
Awesome. Yeah, I tell people that I like this better. So yeah, I've done in-person puppy programs. I still do in-home lessons for people with problem behaviors, reactivity, anxiety, that sort of thing. But yeah, I don't do this for puppies anymore. And people are kind of like, oh, why? I want you in my home. And I'm like, look, I like this better.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully anyone watching will believe, yeah, it's not just me, like you liked it better too.
I
So
did. I did. And I think it's really important. I think a lot of people, and I don't mean this derogatory, I think a lot of people want that level of security of having you in their home, kind of doing it for them in a way, assessing the situation and kind of fixing the problem for them. And this remote option, it forces the owner to really take on that role. And it I think in the end it's much better because we are having to do it ourselves instead of having you do it for us where we get to watch.
cool. Yeah, I'm all about you can do it with just a little help. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
just a
got
little
this.
help.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll just tell you what to do and you do it. Easy
yeah,
peasy.
right. And you were always there for questions, always. And again, the way that you explain things, it's easy to understand. You make it common sense, and you're always calm and positive. You never blame. There was no shaming or blaming or how could you not know this? It was like, here's what you need to do. Here's what's probably happening. Here's what you need to do.
Cool. Yeah, we've all made way too many mistakes to judge anybody else.
Yeah.
So very cool. All right. Thank you so much for taking the time with me. I think that's about all we need to say so that others can, yeah, see what it's like, get a real feel for what it's like in the Puppy to Perfect
Yeah.
program. Um, so yeah, we're gonna end it
I
there.
again.